what's up, how you doing? If you don't know me, I graduated from MTSU in December of 2016, so it has been a minute since I've been there, but I still know a decent amount about the housing on campus and off campus. And I get a lot of DMs on Instagram of people asking where they should live when they come to MTSU, and I've answered a lot, and then there's some that I haven't gotten to answering, so I figured I might as well just make a video about it since it seems to be a pretty common question. There are a lot of different things to consider when it comes to housing. There's not one right place for everyone to live, obviously. So I'm gonna be going over some different stuff, just typically about what you should know and how to make the decision on where you should live. Some of these will just apply to any college around the board, so even if you're not gonna move to MTSU, this is just sort of some things to keep in mind for anyone, depending on where you wanna move when it comes to college. But a lot of these will also be MTSU specific. Let's just get into it. Okay, right off the bat, right now, as I post this, COVID is happening, so a lot of people aren't even living on campus, and then their housing plan has changed because I looked up online what MTSU is doing for COVID, and it's a little bit different. So I'm not gonna go into a lot of the stuff that they're dealing with COVID right now, because I want this to be able to be a video that you can come back to regardless of if COVID is happening or if it's down the line when COVID is no longer affecting us, whenever that day will be. All right, so first things first. MTSU is a commuter school, so a lot of people don't even decide to live on campus. They just live at home. So if you are somebody who wants to live on campus, you are actually a smaller percentage. There was a stat I saw a long time ago, I think when I was a sophomore, so it would have been like 2017, 2018, of the amount of people who lived on campus. I'm actually gonna look and see if I can find that old stat. Okay, I couldn't find that old stat, but I did find this one report from US News and World Reports. I don't see a year on it though, but I'm going to assume that it is somewhat up to date because it mentions like 2017 on here somewhere. So this is relatively recent, and the number of students who live on campus in this report is 17%. So very few, 84% live off campus. It is very much a commuter school. At MTSU, you're not required to live on campus at any point. I know at some universities you are required, like for your freshman year, get a meal plan, live on campus, live in a dorm, whatever. You don't have to do that at MTSU. So if you decide you want to live on campus, great, cool. If you decide you want to live off campus, that is totally fine, regardless of if you're a freshman or if you're a senior, doesn't matter. So I'm gonna go through kind of like a list of things that you'll want to think about. First thing, do you want to live on campus or do you want to live off campus? I've talked about this in previous videos about MTSU, but it is not a very big like party school. It's not a super big like active school when it comes to anytime classes aren't in session. It's a very busy campus in the middle of the day, but once it starts to hit nighttime, it starts to slow down a little bit. I mean, there's still people everywhere and out and doing stuff, but it's just not a ton considering there's like 20,000 people that go to that school. And on the weekends, it is basically a ghost town. So if you're looking to live on campus strictly because you want that like active on-campus lifestyle all the time, it's not a super like active campus when it's not during the week. So if that's like your main thing, that's the only reason you want to live on campus, you might want to consider that. Another thing to consider for on-campus versus off-campus is parking. Parking at MTSU is not the best, but I think that's just kind of across the board of all colleges. You get a red parking pass if you are an on-campus resident, which means you can park in either a red lot or a green lot, but you can't park in a white lot because that's faculty. But red or green, and that gives you a lot more options when it comes to parking, and that is pretty sweet. If you are an off-campus resident, then you get a green pass, and so you have a lot more of a limited option when it comes to parking. For green passes, most of the time, people end up parking in like pretty far away lots, like by the softball field. Like that was a pretty common one that a lot of people I knew parked at. It's kind of a hike when you have to park that far out, but there's usually spots out there. And then there's a gravel lot. At least this is back like, I'm thinking back in 2019, because that's when I graduated. There were always spots, at least in the gravel lot out by the softball field. And then there's also I want to say it's called the Rutherford lot, but I can't remember. But it's like across the street from campus. So it is a legitimate hike, but there's always spots somewhere. So that's something to think about too, if that really deters you, of like, you're somebody who you know you will get to campus really late, and then you'll have to search for parking for a while, and then you'll have to walk kind of a far distance in order to get to your class, and then by that point you're gonna be really late. If that's something that you know is gonna be you, you know, that could be a legitimate thing to consider. As far as off-campus housing, there is quite a bit. You can just search for apartments or townhouses near MTSU and you'll get a ton of options popped up. I lived at East Main Quarters for my junior year and my senior year. It was really nice. I liked those apartment complexes. They're a little bit pricey for student housing, not pricey compared to where I live now, but back then it was kind of expensive. I think it was like $700 something a month, and you have 3 roommates in those apartments, but they're nice. If you want to see what they look like, I'll link a tour up above to what those looked like. Close enough to campus that I walked to campus every single day. I never drove to campus with those. Another kind of nicer place that I've visited, I had friends who lived there, were the townhouses called Aspen Heights. They're a little bit farther away from campus in the fact that you can't walk there, but they're not like far at all. I think it's probably like a 7 or 8, maybe 10-minute drive to Aspen Heights. Not bad. And they have shuttle buses for those that come to campus. So if you would rather not drive or worry about parking, there are buses. But those are 2 places that I would recommend if you were looking at off-campus housing. But there's plenty of options. If you don't like those or they're not in your budget, there's other options too. Those are just 2 that I recommend. All right, so moving on. Let's say you've decided that you want to live on campus. Next decision you got to make, do you want an apartment or do you want a dorm? At MTSU, there are only 2 apartments. Everything else is dorms. So if you decide you want an apartment, you're kind of limited. My sophomore year, I lived in Womack, which is ugly, very ugly. The outside of those looks disgusting, but I'm pretty sure like the outside of a lot of the housing in MTSU is just ugly, and the insides as well. Not aesthetically pleasing, but if you don't care, great. Then there's Scarlet. Those are the other apartment complexes on campus. Those are more aesthetically pleasing. In terms of roommates for Charlotte, I don't think you can get a single. You have to live with like 2 or 3 other roommates. With Womack, you can get a single apartment or you can live with 1 roommate. I lived with a roommate. It was fine. It wasn't bad. It's 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. The smallest kitchen you will ever see. And again, I will link, since I lived there, a tour of my apartment there. I lived there for a year. It wasn't a great experience. It wasn't a terrible experience. It was perfectly mediocre. But I had a walk-in closet, which was nice. I had a kitchen, as small as it was. That was important for me because I like to cook. It was well located for me. I was right next to the rec center, so I could go to the gym easily. I was pretty close to the Bragg building, which is where I spent a lot of my time. The only like really negative things I remember about Womack, the smoke detectors were like the loudest I've ever heard in my life. They were also so sensitive that like when you stepped out of the shower, if you didn't let the steam kind of settle for a second before you open the door, it would set the alarm off. I don't know if that was just mine or if that's a general problem with those, but that was annoying as could be. Another issue was the AC is just in the living room, so you kind of like have to leave your door open if you wanted the AC to get to your room, which was a little bit annoying because I don't like to leave my bedroom door open when I'm living with another person. Oh, one other random thing. There was like a ladybug infestation when I lived there for like a month or 2. I think that's just a general problem in Murfreesboro. I think random times there's just ladybug infestations, so that was an interesting thing to deal with. Oh, but the lighting over there is crappy. They have more recently installed over there an emergency like pole thing. You can run over there and like press emergency and it calls the cops or whatever, but that's not like super convenient if you're getting attacked anywhere not close to that pole. The lighting is bad, kind of sketch. There have been like reports of, I think, car break-ins over there. There's been a lot of reports of car break-ins on MTSU's campus when I was there, as well as sexual assaults. There were a few. If you are ever interested in knowing like crime of any area on MTSU's campus, you can actually look up the reports online. If you just like Google MTSU police reports, they publish them online, so you can look up month by month the location and the date and the actual crime that was reported, if you're interested in that. Okay, as far as Scarlet goes, I did have a few friends that lived in Scarlet, so I was there a few times. It was nice. Definitely more, like I said, aesthetically pleasing to Womack. I think they were newer, which is probably why. You have to have multiple roommates. You can't just have one and you can't get a single, I don't think, with Scarlet. So that is something to keep in mind. And it was, for me, the location wasn't great, but if like it just really depends on what your major is and where you spend your time on campus as far as location goes. I've never really heard anything bad about those apartments. I never really heard people complain about them. They seem to be pretty nice as far as I could tell. So if the location is good for you and you don't care about having multiple roommates, I would probably say go with Scarlet over Womack personally. For me, Womack was a better choice just for what I wanted, but I think Scarlet's the better complex. All right, apartments out of the way, let's move on to dorms. That is the biggest chunk of this video because that is most of what on-campus housing is offered at MTSU. The best thing I can tell you to do as far as really getting in depth on the apartments is to look on MTSU's website. They have a section for housing and I will link it in the description, and you can go in and look at all of the housing, all the prices, its location on campus for their dorms, or as they're listed on their website, residence halls. They're listed in 4 categories: West Campus, Mid Campus, East Campus, North Campus. West Campus is Lyon, Monaghan, and Rutledge Hall. I have been in Lyon. I haven't been in Monaghan or Rutledge. Lyon is nice. I want to say that that's the honors dorm. Let me check. Is it? Is it not? I could have sworn it was. Am I stupid? Did you change that? Or are you just not telling me? Did they, like, straight up, did they change this? No, honors is Lyon. Ha! It's not listed very clearly on here, but Lyon is honors. So if you're in the honors college, that's the only way you can live in Lyon. Otherwise, you can't. I did have a friend that lived in Lyon, so I did visit there sometimes. It's pretty nice. It's on the, it's listed as West, right? West side of campus? Yep, West Campus, which is the historic side of campus, which is just the fancy way of saying old side of campus, but it is pretty. They have like study rooms that are pretty decent, much better than the study rooms for the other dorms because they expect less out of the non-honors kids, I guess. I think their dorm rooms are a little bit prettier than like mine. I lived in Beasley. We'll get to that. Beasley was ugly, but you know, I wasn't honors. Even though I was an honors student, I just didn't want to live in Lyon. So I've heard good things about Lyon. So if you're an honors student and you want to live on that side of campus, I do recommend Lyon because I have heard good things about it. Monaghan, I straight up don't know, and Rutledge, I do not know anything about these. They're in similar locations. They're still on that side of campus. They're prettier on the outside than the dorm that I lived in. This one has a lounge. Yeah, these look nicer. I picked a bad dorm to live in, guys. Don't follow my example. West Campus dorms, they appear to be all right. And from my experience of the one that I've been in, it was pretty nice. But to be fair, for me, to defend my decision, it wasn't in a convenient location for me. Okay, mid-campus is where I lived. I don't think it's a quad, because I think there were more than 4. I think there were 5 dorms in that area. They all are so ugly. It just looks nasty on the outside and the inside. Not good. But I lived in Beasley, which was the all-girls dorm. I think it's the only one on campus that's all girls. So if that is important to you, I don't recommend Beasley. If it's really important to you, then Beasley is, I'm pretty sure, your only option. Other things to consider, though, that brings me to this. Do you want co-ed or not? I don't know, honest to goodness, I don't know what the boys only dorm is. But Beasley's the girls only. Smith is the one in that quad that has the main lobby that has the desk at it. So if you ever have any requests or something that you need to make, if you live in any of those 5 dorms, they don't have their own front lobby. You have to go to Smith to request stuff, or you're supposed to go there if you have like a guest coming over. I don't know a single person that ever checked their guests in though, so I don't love the mid-campus dorms. They were in a good location for me, which is one of the main reasons that I chose Beasley, but it's not a great dorm. Again, because I live there, I will link up here the tour that I made so you can sort of see the ugliness of it. All right, let's go. East Campus, Deer, Nix, and House 7. What the crap is House 7? That's like one of the sorority houses. What is this? Oh, for global affairs? I've straight up never heard of House 7 before. I don't know what this is. It's the global learning community, so if you're interested in global learning, House 7 could be for you. Deer and Nix. I stayed in Deer when I went to my registration, or what is it, customs? Customs, yeah, I stayed there when I went to customs. And then Nix is like very similar to Deer. That's a suite style. All of the mid-campus, in North Campus, and West Campus, I believe. I think all of them are community bathrooms, whereas Nix and Deer are the suite style. You don't have the normal suite though, where it's like one dorm, bathroom, other dorm. It's like a bunch of dorms together in one bathroom. I just hit the tripod, my bad. I want to say it was 4 dorms connected. 4 or 6 is up there, is a high number. Connected into one bathroom, and it has like different stalls and different sinks and different like multiple showers. It's not like one normal bathroom and 2 rooms. It is like a weird, like bigger bathroom. Still kind of community style, it's just you're not sharing it with your whole floor, you're sharing it with like 8 girls or boys. It's also exterior access, whereas most of the other dorms is interior access. That's also something else to think about on your list. Do you want interior or exterior entrance? With Deer and Nick's, you have like a gate or something that you have to swipe your ID, and then you get up to your room, and then you have your key and you unlock it. Whereas with all the other dorms, to get to walk in through the doors, you have to swipe your key to get in, or you have to swipe your ID to get in, your school ID, and then you can go up to your room and use your key. So it's just a little bit different. If you would prefer suite over community style bathroom, that's your option, which is another thing to think about in your list of stuff. Do you want community or suite style bathrooms? I did community for my freshman year. I mean, it wasn't that bad, honestly. I think the worst part about it was just that like 3 of the showers didn't work, and there were only 6 showers, and that was really weird that they just like never fixed 3 of our showers. All right, let's move on. North Campus, that's the last one, and that's Corlew and Cummings, and those are actually freshmen only. They're the newest dorms. They're also the tallest buildings on campus. As of when I attended, they were building a new thing when I left though, so I don't know how tall that thing's gonna be. But as of 2019, they were the tallest buildings on campus. They're also the only dorms on campus with elevators, so that's nice for move-in day. They're pretty nice. I had a friend who lived in one of the 2, I don't remember which one, but she really liked it. And then I visited her sometimes, and her dorms, I would say out of all the ones that I visited or lived in, hers was the prettiest. And I think it probably just was the best because it was the newest. So they probably didn't have 3 of their 6 showers not working ever, because it was newer. So if you're coming in as a freshman, I would say that those are probably your best bet because they're just the nicest. But those are community style bathrooms as well. And they're also interior access, so if you like that, that's good. They're co-ed, but I'm pretty sure it's separated by floor, so like one floor is boy, one floor is girl, etc. And they have an elevator. Again, super nice, so convenient. All right, so that's all of the dorms. Anyway, so that was 13 dorms, by the way, listed online. You have 13 dorm options and 2 apartment options, unless you want to live in a sorority house on campus, and then that's a whole other thing with Greek Row. If you want to do that, that's an option. I don't know much about it. I did have a friend. I had a lot of friends who lived in sorority houses, so I did visit sorority houses quite a few times, so I know what they look like. Like, I know that they're decently nice, but I also know that most people don't like living in sorority houses, at least from my experience. All the people, like my friends, would complain that you have to do 1 year of living in the house, usually if you join a sorority, and everyone was like, I don't want to live in a house. I just want to get that year over with. I don't know why, I don't know what the issue is, but I spent most time in Aopi's house, and that seemed nice, seemed fine. All right, now I'm going to continue on our list though of things to think about. First things first, do you want to live by yourself or do you want a roommate? There's going to be certain dorms on campus that will allow you to get single rooms. They are more expensive, but you are isolated and by yourself, and if that's your jam, then that's something to think about. On its rates page, it says that for Rutledge you can get a single room. For Lyon, Monahan, Smith, Sims, Beasley, Judd, I feel like Judd is not a thing anymore. I thought it was blocked off. There are 2 dorms that are like falling apart, and they're not dorms anymore. I just can't remember the names of them, but I thought Judd was one of them. Maybe I'm crazy. Gracie, Cummings, Corlew, Deer, Nick's, or row housing, which is Greek Row. You can get single or shared housing with those. And then Scarlet, it just says private bedroom, so yeah, I'm pretty sure you have to have roommates. You just can get your own bedroom. And then Womack, you can get a 1-bedroom or you can get a 2-bedroom. So Womack is also for if you have like kids or a family, you can move into Womack because it's the family housing on campus. Technically, there's like a playground, I think, in the middle. So those are your options for single housing if you are interested in a private room. Next thing we already talked about, community bathroom, suite bathroom. Got to think about what you want in terms of those. At the end of the day, in my opinion, it wasn't that important. Either way, it's not great, you know? Either way, you're gonna wish you had your own bathroom, or at least just shared it with like one other person. You're kind of not gonna be having a great time either way, but you're also not gonna be having an awful time. It's just gonna sort of be what it is, in my opinion. The next thing, location on campus. I already sort of talked about how they have them sectioned off on their website, east, mid, north, whatever. That is something that you will want to think about in terms of where most of your classes are. Most of my classes were in either the historic side, so the west side of campus, or mid-campus. But if you do anything with like agriculture, that's sort of the farther side, agriculture or sports. All of that stuff is like the northern side of campus, so that's something to consider. You're not gonna wanna live mid-campus if all of your stuff or a majority of your stuff is gonna be north campus. It's just something to think about. Next thing, talked about that, co-ed, not co-ed. Your majority of stuff as far as dorms is gonna be co-ed, so that's gonna give you your most options. If you really just want it to be just all female or all male, you're gonna be limiting your options quite a bit. Like I already said, apartment or dorm, you gotta make that choice. But you don't have as many choices when you go apartment. On campus off, we already talked about that. You already gotta make that decision. Next thing though, we haven't talked about housing checks. That is something that if you live on campus, you're gonna have to be subjected to. People do come in and do housing checks, and you or your roommate have to be there in the designated time so that they can like come in and check your dorm or check your apartment. They are not super thorough in my experience. Like, they're kind of just one of those, like, it's required by the school so they do them, but they're really not that big of a deal. For example, on campus you're not supposed to have toasters if you live on campus because it's like a fire hazard. Everyone I knew had a toaster if they lived in an apartment. Did they ever get caught or like in trouble or told to remove their toaster? No. But they are a thing that you do have to be aware of, that they happen and they're kind of inconvenient. Also, like housing meetings. You had to go to a certain amount of housing meetings if you lived on campus. Like I remember with WAMAC, I think there were 2 or 3 throughout the semester that I would have to attend. Super boring, super pointless, super inconvenient, and super annoying. But they exist and are just something that you're subjected to if you live on campus. Also, fire alarms going off because people don't put water in their ramen and put it in the microwave and cause a bunch of smoke, and your fire alarm goes off, and then the entire apartment complex, or not apartments usually, but your entire like dorm, gotta go down, out while they deal with it. That never actually, thank goodness, happened to me. My dorm never had to like evacuate because of a smoke detector, but I do know that that happens to a lot of people. I don't know about MTSU, but I know with like one of my friends goes to UT, and she mentions that they would have to do like fire drills all the time, and they would do it at really inconvenient times, like 10 o'clock at night, where they would have to leave. I think we actually might have done one of those one time. I might be making that up, but I feel like we did that. Next is laundry. No great laundry options for when you live on campus because you don't have like an in-unit washer dryer in any dorms or anything in MTSU. All of it is community style. I know for WAMAC we had a like clubhouse thing in the middle of all of the apartments. You'd have to go to the clubhouse and there was a laundry room and you would use that. But I never had a problem with anyone like stealing my clothes or anything, or taking them out and moving them or anything like that. I never had an issue, but I was always really fast to switch my clothes from washer to dryer and then get them out of the dryer. I was not, and please don't be that person that just like forgets that they're doing laundry and just leaves it in the washer or the dryer forever, especially in the dorms, because with Beasley, I want to say there were only 3 or 4 washers and 3 or 4 dryers. Set an alarm on your phone and go check your laundry and move it when it's done. But it is free though on campus. You don't have to use quarters or anything. As far as like when I was there, 2017 or 2018 would have been the last time I did laundry on campus, and it was free at that time. I doubt they would have changed that. And then the last thing that I have listed on here, we already discussed interior versus exterior. That's the last thing I have written down on my trusty dusty list. And again, also not a really big deal, but if you really want exterior, that does limit you a lot. Like I said though, for all of the dorms, you will need to have your ID on you at all times to be able to get in. It's very important. But not for the apartments. For the apartments, you don't have to have your ID to get into them. You just have to have your key. For inside, all the dorms pretty much come with the same thing. A crappy mattress. Do recommend a mattress topper, just FYI. They come with a chair, a desk, closet, obviously, an Ethernet port. Internet, by the way, Wi-Fi, not great on campus, but you can plug a little Ethernet cord into your laptop and it makes things a little bit better. What else do they come with? A set of dressers, and that's pretty much it. All of it's ugly, but you know, what do you expect? You don't have to pay utilities, which is nice. You can crank up your heat or your AC as high or as low as you want, and there's no consequence to you, which is pretty sweet. They painted a lot of the, like with WAMAC and with Beasley, there was lead in the paint. So that's like super bad for you, so don't lick the walls, I guess, would be the only thing I could think of there. I guess it doesn't really matter if you're just in lead's presence. You're just not supposed to ingest it. So don't lick the walls. Actually, I remembered another complaint with WAMAC. I like didn't have hot water for a long time when I lived there. I would have hot water for like the first 5 minutes of my shower, and then after that it would just not be hot anymore, and that was super annoying. And a lot of people had that problem. It was like on our Facebook group. I'm assuming that's fixed because that was like 3 years ago, but that was a problem. Also, if you live on campus, they do close down sometimes over breaks, like Christmas and spring break and stuff. I think you can stay. You just have to you have to let them know that you're staying. So if you don't plan on going home for a break, you do have to inform the school. I feel like one year, I don't think this was normal, but one year they like turned off the gas on campus for spring break or something. So if you didn't leave, you just like didn't have hot water. I guess that was just a running theme at MTSU. Also, I will just go ahead and say I don't think they care about their kids that live on campus, because as you saw, such a small portion of people do live on campus at MTSU. They're not, whoa, did I just have a stroke? Housing, what I was trying to say, is not their priority. Like the food options, when it gets late, not great. So just like fair warning, it's not like amazing housing regardless of where you live. You are not #1 priority because you're just in the minority. So basically that was my list of things when I was thinking of where to move to that I wanted to know about before I moved somewhere. If you have any other further questions about anything, just let me know in the comments and I will do my best to answer all of them. I have a bunch of other MTSU related videos. If you want to check it out, I have a playlist dedicated to them. So check that playlist out if you want. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, you can give it a thumbs up. You can also subscribe to me if you would like to. I have a plethora of other MTSU related videos that you can check out. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye guys.